He is clearly, in my opinion, the best basketball player I've ever seen.
There are only two answers to the greatest basketball debate of all time. And one of them is wrong. Depending on which side of the coin you hold.
This time he takes it himself all the way.
Someone who delivered moments like this.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go, puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago.
Or moments like this.
Another opportunity for the Cavaliers to take the lead. They're down by 1. Maxfield defending on James. LeBron with the step back stuffs.
Today, we are ending the age-long debate.
A thunderous dunk and the crowd fired up. There's a lot of Heat jerseys here. Well, LeBron James had a couple of high percentage shots to start.
To put things into perspective, we would need to go back to the beginning. And for Jordan, that would be in Wilmington, North Carolina. He was the fourth of 5 children born to James and Dolores. They weren't the richest, but they managed to get by. Jordan, like many other athletes, tried out different sports before settling for basketball. At the time he applied for his school's varsity basketball team, he was deemed too short at 5'11". But that would be only a little hurdle in what would grow to become the basketball career we all know today.
Michael Jordan, power jam in Barkley's face.
For college, Jordan went to North Carolina on a scholarship. And that's when we had that famous 1982 NCAA championship moment versus Georgetown.
You can't with a shot blocker like Ewing take so much time. Doherty to Black. The time, 18. Shot, Jordan, Michael Jordan.
So that was when people started to realize that this kid was special after all. But here's what they didn't tell you. That insane game-winning shot happened when Jordan was just a freshman.
Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Get the full picture. 19 years old, ice in his veins, draining the go-ahead jumper with the entire country watching. Most players that age are worried about exams, but let's just say Jordan had his own priorities. He would go on to win the Naismith College Player of the Year award before making one of the most consequential decisions of his life.
There's some first step by Michael Jordan. That is quite a...
And that would be declaring for the NBA draft in 1984. The Chicago Bulls selected him 3rd overall, and nobody in that building that night had any idea what was about to happen to the league.
Going and throws it up. He puts it in on an amazing move.
Jordan had anything but a normal rookie season. I mean, what kind of rookie pulled moves like this?
Well, it really can be a spectacular night for the Bulls as Jordan has come up with another steal.
Michael Jordan.
The Bulls were a mess before Jordan arrived. And honestly, for a while, they were still a mess. Just a more exciting one. Jordan was doing things on a basketball court that had no business being legal. Scoring titles, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP. But one thing that wasn't coming yet was the rings, and oh, the critics had no mercy on the young baller. He can't win the big one. He's not a winner, he's just a scorer.
Oh, yes, here comes Mike. Oh, what a play.
This is Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can.
But that's where things get even scarier. And to visualize just how intense things were.
MJ. Oh, he did it. And Michael shakes the finger.
Quick flashback to that insane switch hand layup.
The look away to Livingston. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move.
Scottie Pippen took it on himself to build weapons around him, and when Phil Jackson handed Jordan the triangle offense like a loaded weapon, something shifted. The Bulls went on a riot. 6 championships in 8 years, 6 finals appearances, 6 finals M5P awards, 0 losses in the finals. 0. Do you know what it means to not lose a single NBA final in 6 appearances? Do you know the positive damage it does to your legacy?
The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship, and it's their 2nd three-peat.
And don't for a minute think it was all straightforward in industry plant championships. There was the Celtic game where he landed 45 points with a broken foot. Stop us! The This was not a man playing basketball. This was a man conducting a basketball, and everyone else was just sitting in the orchestra. But enough of that, because while Jordan was up in Chicago building his legend, somewhere in Akron, Ohio, a child was being born who would one day force the entire world to have this exact conversation: LeBron Raymond James. Born December 30th, 1984, ironically, the same year Jordan was entering the NBA. His mother, Gloria, was 16 when she had him. His father was absent. They moved from apartment to apartment, sometimes not knowing where the next meal was coming from. So, a lot more complicated than Jordan's backstory. Let that sit for a second. But as for his basketball, that came almost naturally, like the game already knew who he was before he did.
Now watch as Michael Jordan comes at the bottom of your screen here, how he leaves the defensive man. Dumars was thinking that he had...
By the time LeBron was in high school at St. Vincent St. Mary, the circus had already arrived. I am talking about national television, Sports Illustrated. The words "Chosen One" tattooed on the cover of a magazine before he'd played a single minute of professional basketball. That kind of pressure would have destroyed most people, but LeBron, he just turned it into fuel.
Center court, we go to a second overtime. Brings defending on James. Goes to the step back and hits it. That's 41 points for LeBron James, and he has scored 22.
Drafted first overall by his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers in 2003.
With the first pick in the 2003 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James.
LeBron walked into the league at 18 years old and immediately made veterans look like they needed to find a new career. Rookie of the Year. All-Star in year 2. By year 4, he was dragging a broken Cavaliers team to the NBA Finals almost entirely on his back. And that's just what happened, with no hyperbole or exaggeration included.
3 minutes since LeBron James made his return. Shot clock to 5, and here's James, tips it home.
But just like Jordan, it was a case of a lot of individual brilliance at the start, but the rings were not coming, at least not yet. Here is where it gets interesting. Because the debate is going to take a slight tilt from just being about basketball and go more into the legacy conversation. Jordan's path was more of a fortress. It was very linear. We had Chicago with Phil Jackson and Pippen by his side. One city, one team, one mission. He never left. He never had to make a decision. He just won, and won, and won, until there was nothing left to prove.
Whose game is it? It's Michael Jordan's game.
But Jordan himself would beg to differ.
I still had a lot to prove as a player, and I wanted to win more.
But when we talk about LeBron's path, historic in a completely different way. Whatever is the opposite of linear is what would describe LeBron's basketball journey. The decision, South Beach. The heat wave of criticism that followed.
So no, LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Miami Heat.
The world called him a traitor, critics called him soft and said he couldn't do it alone, so he went and found help. Guess what? So did Jordan. He had Pippen, he had Rodman, he had Phil Jackson running the whole operation, but somehow, when LeBron did it, it became a character flaw. Funny how that works. In Miami, LeBron won 2 championships and finally silenced the "he can't close" crowd with one of the most dominant finals performances ever recorded.
Puts it in, LeBron James from downtown. No answer for LeBron right now. None. He's got 12 already. James spins, trying to draw some contact.
But a major plot twist was incoming because after all that glam, LeBron went back to Cleveland. Back to the team that couldn't protect him. Back to the city that burned his jersey.
As the shot clock expires, LeBron James with 44. Timeout Boston.
And in 2016, he did the impossible. Came back from 3-1 down against a 73-win Golden State Warriors team to bring Cleveland its first championship in 52 years. One of the greatest highlights was the crazy chase-down block on Iguodala.
Rebound taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the... Oh, my goodness.
From then on, it was all Los Angeles. A fourth championship, a fourth finals MVP, the oldest player to ever average 30 points in a season.
Jumping up, LeBron is in and goes, oh my, dropped it!
Doing it at 38 years old like the game owed him something and he was collecting the debt. So here we are, 6 rings versus 4. 6 finals MVPs versus 4. 1 city versus 4 teams. Undefeated in the finals versus the most finals appearances in the modern era. Jordan was a nightmare you couldn't prepare for.
Fresh 14 for the Lakers. LeBron! Look out below!
A surgical, cold-blooded assassin who made the game feel personal. Every time he stepped on the floor, there was a sense that someone's career was about to be shortened.
Buck Williams, head of the key, comes left, hands to Woolridge. Down the lane, Woolridge shot blocked by Jordan, cleared out by Sellers. Oakley the rebound. Ahead to Jordan. Michael Jordan pushes it on the drive. Pull-up shot right at the...
And LeBron, on the other hand, is something else entirely.
From the logo!
A chess grandmaster is playing a game most people don't even realize is happening. Seeing passes before they exist. Something about LeBron that always goes under the radar is his ability to bring the best out of everyone around him.
James steps through, finds Dampier. Great block inside by Sean Williams. What a pass by James to Dampier! Oh, wow!
How about that? LeBron knew exactly where his teammate was.
You watch a clip like that and really start to consider whether some people do have eyes at the back of their head. We are looking at 2 different players in different eras, and that right there is the problem with this debate, and also what makes it so irresistible. Because there is no clean answer. There is only the version of greatness you believe in. Do you believe in the man who went undefeated on the biggest stage, who turned the playoffs into his personal highlight reel, who retired with 0 doubt? Or do you believe in the man who carried cities, reinvented himself across decades, and chased greatness so relentlessly that it became almost uncomfortable to watch?
Look out!
Jordan showed us what a ceiling looks like. LeBron showed us there isn't one. The GOAT debate was never going to have one answer. But after today, the fence is gone. You're on one side or the other, so tell me which one in the comments.